Welcome to season 3 of the Salon at Tokyo College. I'm back, John Lee, with Professor Naoko Shimazu to host a very interesting guest today, Professor HORIE Norichika, who is a scholar of religion specializing in psychology of religion. Welcome, Professor HORIE. Thank you for taking the time to come.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to this wonderful salon.
I wonder if we could start by asking you about your recent book on the power of the dead, which is about kind of a spiritual communication between the living and the dead of the survivors after the Tohoku earthquake of 2011. I was very intrigued by your concluding idea about how in a society which doesn't take the living seriously, cannot take the dead seriously, but a society that cannot take the dead seriously, cannot possibly take the living seriously.
Yes, thank you for reading. There's so many bookmark. Yeah. So in conclusion, I would like to emphasize status of the dead in modern society, so there is a theory in death studies that in pre-modern period, people die suddenly, and after death, the social death begin in the course of ritual. So that the members of the community can accept the person's death. But now, in contemporary society, people are dying before the real death. So we will retire from our job, and our children or younger colleague will grow up, and we will gradually lose our relationship. So we are dying every day, even before the real biological death. So I think there are many aging people in our society, but they have dying, or they are treated as almost dead people. So that's the problem of our society, and if we lose our sympathy or some kind of special feeling toward the deceased person, then our community will sooner or later lose a sense of community, including the dead people.
But there's a sense in which, by traditional, I don't mean 100 years ago, but even 40, 50 years ago, in almost any Japanese household, there was Buddhist altar, Butsudan, or Kamidana, shrine for Shinto. And yet, if you look at statistics, I mean, the number of people who own them in urban apartments and what Japanese call mansion is below 20%. So I feel that there's almost a discontinuity between the living and the dead in contemporary Japanese society. So here, you talk about a rural community, which still has that solidarity, which I assume is one of the reasons you wrote this book called Pop Spirituality, which is contemporary urban and basically among young people, talking about spirituality and the dead and so forth.
So it is very interesting to know that older people do not believe in spirit or afterlife, but more younger people believe in spiritual things, spiritual issues. So it is. I thought it is due to mass media's development, and it has become reality. For example, there are many kinds of fantasy or stories in popular culture and subculture, and 20 to 30, a young person at 20 to 30 are very familiar with the fantasy world, and they spend lots of time, more time than they spend time with dead ancestors. Yes. So I think today now the reality of the other world in fantasy or narrative world is more real. So it will, but it will have some roots in the past religious culture, because they are very fond of depicting. So the authors of the stories are very fond of depicting the religious world and magical world. So I think that there is a kind of rearrangement of the traditional, or not traditional, but popular and folk culture.
So can I go back to the first point you made, which is about death?
Yeah.
You know, and of course, we'll be talking about death all the time. Yeah, I am very interested in death. So, and then you said that previously the society used to actually process death through what you call social death after the physical death, right? And so now I think for the first time I actually understand why. When I was, working on the Russo-Japanese War, I looked at soldiers' diaries and I looked at the process of death after the physical death in the battlefield. And I actually traced some examples, but one particular non-commissioned officer died 7 times in various different venues. So he would be commemorated. And so with this kind of framework, I completely understand why that happened, And of course, I was saying, I was thinking that it must be that because he sort of belonged to different groups and communities within society, within his life. And so each of these communities and groups that he belonged to had to process death in the way that they were meant to be processed, So, but then yet when you first started this session, you said that you think that the death now begins earlier than the actual point of physical death. So does it mean that what you're suggesting is that the conception of death itself is changing? Because of course our body is dying beyond a certain point, and that's what we are told all the time, that your body degenerates. So you're counting that as death, or are you also talking about sort of social death in lifetime? Because you kind of you stop working, you stop this, and so what are the kind of social markers which give that sort of different stages of death? That's death, as you say, that's already happening in your lifetime.
So that depends on the relationship and who remember the person. And social death totally, completely relies on other people's memory. So, yes, lonely death or lonely dying can happen if he or she loses relationship with others and they have no money, then they may die in their apartment, very lonely. So it's very social matters.
I wonder, we can go back to more of a macro context. I mean, you've written a great deal about post-World War II Japanese Eurasian society. And I think one of the most often remarked upon fact is the massive decline of religion. I mean, in one of the surveys you cite, you know, in 1946, something like 78% of the people said they belong to religion, I assume organized religion of some sort. But today, the number is very low by all measures, all statistics. And of course, there is kind of the revenge of the repressed, because the need to mourn our death, our intimate people dying, uncertain things in life, you have to resort to something. And so I wonder, beside the pop spirituality, you talk about how people in Japan are coping with, if you will, the absence of spiritual religious context that their parents and certainly grandparents live with.
So I think the concept of religion drastically changed for about 10 years or 15 years after World War II. So it is a economic growth, rapid economic growth of Japan. And there is a time when the secondary industry developed. I mean, so many workers go to factory and they work collectively with other workers, and they have to manage their work rationally, and of course there is a kind of social movement among laborers. So that is mean Marxism had power at that time. So many people moved away from religion. So the percentage of people who have religious beliefs rapidly decreased from I think 60 to 40 or 30. So it was very, very rapid. But after 1973, that is the year of the oil shock. And NHK's survey showed there's a kind of revival. I think it's too much, but a kind of slightly revival happened in 1973, but younger people turned to New Age. Do you know New Age? New Age is a kind of counterculture. Not only in America but also in Japan, many people are turning to the spiritual values because of the rapid economic growth ended and material values is not ultimate for our lives. So many people turn to, for example, sustainable living or a kind of community, so self-sufficient community. And that was very great radical turning point.
But you know, I live in Berkeley, California, which is one of the centers
I was a
of
visiting scholar at UC Berkeley.
Yes, right. So New Age, you know, it's everything.
Yes,
but what's interesting, of course, is that if you walk around the campus, there's every denomination of Christianity represented. There are Jewish seminaries, of course, Muslims. I mean, you know, every major world religion. And yet, in Japan, Tokyo especially, I mean, they exist, of course, all the Buddhist temples and Shinto shrines, but it's hard to sense that organized religion has much of a staying power, much resonance with, especially younger people. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts about that. I mean, a lot of people say that they're scared when they hear the word religion. Something scary.
Yeah, so religious studies scholars, including me, are thinking of the future of religion, spirituality. So there are several different scenarios. So secularization theory is still powerful, and maybe you will agree to that kind of theory.
I think no one does really, but anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So, but yes, you're right. So we cannot live without some kind of values or ideas, so profound ideas or ideal of our lives, and some of them may ask more existential questions. So, who am I, or what will become of after I die? So, that kind of existential question will remain if you lose what is called religion. So many religious studies scholars expect that some kind of spiritual phenomena will survive, and other religious scholars expect that a kind of a revival of traditional religion will happen in the future, and it's a matter of demographic change. So in developed countries, there are Christian and secularized people, but their population generally is decreasing. But what is called global South has many kinds of very interesting religious phenomena still now, and many sociologists or demographic scholars estimate that Muslim population will expand in the future, and the number of Muslims will surpass a number of Christians. So the future is very unclear, and I have another version of the future of religion. So I am interested in artificial intelligence can function as a node or a nexus of religious tradition or religious culture. So because there are many kinds of scriptures which is registered, and in a department of Humanities and Sociology, we are now arranging digital humanities, and Buddhist scriptures are well ordered and arranged in the database, and artificial intelligence can make use of those materials. And of course, in Islam, the the Quran are studied thoroughly. So artificial intelligence definitely play an important role in the future of religion.
So I still don't understand in what way it can play an important role. Is it going to be the priest, or is it going to be the scripture? Is it going to be, how is it going to be? Or is it going to be some kind of sort of interactive, sphere where, we could ask very basic questions like, what am I? I feel very lost. Do I belong anywhere? And you input your data, and then he says, well, you are, or I don't know, what kind of ideas have
so the way how people in the future use artificial intelligence in the field of religion is not clear, and I think there will be different ways. So fundamentalist people will refer to scriptures with artificial intelligence, but they do not want mixture of other religions or
Professor HORIE writes about this too, but in many Japanese gravestones there is a QR code, and if you access the QR code, you have this library of images and whatnot. But in terms of AI, it's probably within next several years you could have enough of, say, if I were to die, I could input my voice, my writings, all the things I've said to generate essentially AI masquerading as what would John Lee say about
well,
X,
I don't
Y,
think they
Z.
have to do that
No,
because yours is already in the system.
But I mean, it's a technology that will be available for everyone. It's kind of a personal, if you will, spirit, that AI will masquerade us. Who knows? Maybe they'll create a body too. So,
well,
anyway.
won't you be rather dead?
Well, unfortunately, it's coming soon for me. But I wonder if I can ask one last question on this.
Sure.
I mean, one of the books I did enjoy reading is what used to be a PhD dissertation. I mean, which is a very exhaustive and very enlightening study of psychology of religion.
Thank you.
But one question I did have for you is, of course, that you essentially study Western, European, some American, who, of course, operate in monotheistic cultures and have a long discourse of monotheism, which I think has a slightly different texture than the religious life in Japan, which has always been a bit more syncretic, and certainly today. And so I wonder how you can bridge, if you will, the theoretical legacy of people writing under monotheistic culture and apply it, if you will, to make sense of very syncretic, if you want to say it, secular, individualistic Japanese society.
That kind of criticism also occurred in the field of psychology of religion. So in the middle part of my book, so there is a chapter on monotheistic understanding of our mind or soul, and polytheistic understanding of our mind. So the psychology of religion, I have to explain this, but there's not enough time. But anyway, so Western psychologists tend to conceptualize the mind in relation with God. So that God and a human being even has a similar image of God, and we share rational or reason and that is thought to come from God. That is a very monotheistic understanding of our mind, and secular psychology cuts the relationship with God. But nowadays there's a more ecological understanding of our mind. So we have environment, and that afford us to do something. So this is a theory of affordance. So environment environment enables us to do something, and we move in this environment. Then the image or perception change. Then the world become real and vivid. So this is a new understanding of our mind and soul. So in this book, the second half of my book is about such kind of a new paradigm of psychology and the status in our society.
So can I just go back to your origins as a scholar, because we forgot to ask that. Well, maybe this is a better time because you're going back to your the first book that you wrote, and it seems to me that you really are moving, evolving in different directions. And so how do you see your, the way you, I'm sure fundamentally you're interested in the same thing, but the way that you initially approached it might have been from psychology or religion, but now you really are and then you are moving even towards future into the into the more AI generated sense of understanding of death and maybe even interactive nature with human beings. And so how do you see your your trajectory up to this point? What are the points that made you move maybe away from your original psychology or religion, or more historically based studies that you've done, about post-war religion and the way it changes. So what is it that makes you and the way you study and think about death, I guess, is what makes you change the way you think about how you want to approach this question?
Yeah, that's a very, very great question, and I want to know the answer. Yeah, so I'm now a director of Death and Life Studies and Practical Ethics, and so I'm now involved with practical ethics more. So I'm also an organizer of sustainability and the humanities in a department. So it was originally founded by the president of Todai, and during the two presidential period. And now it is moved down to a department, and I am organizing many scholars, not only at Todai but also at other universities. And I want to cultivate student interest in life in general. And that include, our society's dying people's life, or animals' life. Yes, animals and plants are very, very important, and I think the importance of their life values is not different from our life. But now, the students in humanities are less interested in ecology or sustainability, and I think this is Japanese students' characteristics, and many students in humanities think that sustainability problem is a matter of science. And students in the field of sciences think that kind of ecological ideas belong to humanities. So it's very interesting, but I want to break that kind of prejudice or break the wall between them. Yes. So this is my future direction.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time from your busy schedule.
Thank you
everyone for listening.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.